In this live self-defense training video, we're going to be talking about brutal self-defense batons. This is a traditional police baton. This is something that you'll see around the world. It's very common. It's just a straight baton. These are made out of really dense, hard plastic. When you strike, you have a lot of power, a lot of force going into the opponent, into the person you're defending against. You can do a lot of technique striking and create a lot of damage for self-defense using the straight police baton. And I like to start with this one because this is what every basic technique is based upon that is effective. There are a lot of different things that you can do with martial arts style weapons, but the basic, most effective techniques that I find come from these police baton techniques. So I like to start with this one. This one will crush a skull. This will break bones. This is extremely powerful. It's extremely heavy, and it's very unlikely that you'll be able to carry this anywhere. So this is the police baton. Good afternoon. We got Garen here. Ari Sanders is here. You can use this for self-defense. This is something maybe you can keep in your house, but this is not something you're going to be able to carry in your car or carry on the street or carry on the subway, carry on the bus. Certainly can't take this onto a plane for self-defense. But I wanted to start with this because it is very effective, and I want to move on very quickly because I have a nice selection here of self-defense batons. Very effective, very deadly, very brutal self-defense batons, and I want you to see what you have to choose from and what you can use and what you can't use. This is something you probably won't be able to use. The next one that I want to show you is a derivation, and I apologize for messing with the camera so much. This one is hard plastic. This is made by Monadnock. It's a polymer, a type of oil-based plastic that will not break. You can drive over this with a car. You're not going to be able to break this one. It is extremely heavy, and this one of all of the batons we're going to go through, this one is the heaviest and would create the most damage. And I just popped something off of it. But this one, not off of this, off of that. This one is going to be by far the most powerful, the most effective. Now, I also wanted to show you when we talk about deadly or brutal batons that if the bad guy has one of these, you're always going to have reach advantage. So that means if he's holding this coming at you, and I'm not going to mess around with this too much because it's razor sharp. This is the one I carry to open boxes and for self-defense. But from here to here, you have the advantage of reach over a bladed weapon, over most bladed weapons. You can see that you're going to win as far as reach goes, and you're going to be able to keep him off of you and keep that out of you, or keep him from slicing you with it by using some simple techniques. The favorite one is a simple thrust. A two-handed thrust is better. Bending your knees and lifting your body into that two-handed thrust is the best. Shoving with two hands through here, and then all of these angular strikes going to different parts of the body. But this one you can't carry. This is the next one. This is the one that I carried when I was a young military. This is the actual one when I was a military policeman 100 years ago. And we call it a side handle baton. The other name for it is a PR-24. It's also made by Monadnock. This one is made in the country of Taiwan. And this one, oh wait, I think this one is made here. I'll show you the one made in the country of Taiwan. But this side handle baton is worn on the belt just like the regular baton you just saw. And you would pull this out, and you can put this into different configurations. You can hold it from here and use it as a traditional baton, doing all the things that you did with the other one. You can turn it around, hold it from the other end, and use this hard knob. This is made out of the same thing as that last one. This is a hard polymer, and use this for self-defense, striking and ripping. And you can also, if you learn some what are called come-along techniques, where you use the pressure points on different parts of the body, points where when you apply pressure, you create immense pain, and joint locks where you lock up their arm, twisting it behind their back, or applying the pressure into the nerve and locking the wrist and pulling them along. So you can do a lot of things with this. This is based on the Japanese or Okinawan tonfa, which is one of my favorite martial arts weapons because you can strike with these spinning motions, come down over the top, you can bring it back through, you can spin it out, creating more reach, striking this way, striking this way. There are a lot of things that you can do with the traditional Japanese tonfa. that you can also do with this, and you can see these are made to be longer, so you have more distance to strike. One common strike that you would use using the side handle baton is you would stick it right between his belly button and his private parts in that thin fascia of muscle that keeps his guts in. You strike there and he falls to the ground. You can also reach out with that snapping motion, snapping across, bringing it down, bringing it back the other way. Very powerful, a brutal self-defense baton that, again, you can't carry. You can't even carry one of these unless you're law enforcement or you have some license to carry it. Different states have different requirements, but this is pretty much illegal for a civilian to carry anywhere in the United States. And I would assume overseas, a lot of the laws are even more stringent, so you probably can't carry this. So this is a great option for self-defense. Again, maybe good in your house, but you're not taking this anywhere. You're certainly not going to take the Japanese tonfa unless you're carrying it in your backpack and you tell someone who might stop you, you're just going to your karate class or your budo class and you needed to carry your tonfa. These usually come in a pair. You practice with one in each hand. You can block. You can do all that same thing with this brutal self-defense baton. Now the next one is another derivation of the self-defense baton that police officers carry. This is probably the most common that you see now, and this is the most common item on a law enforcement person, on a police officer's tool belt that never gets used. Almost every police officer I talk to says to me in private, I will not pull this out because they're all afraid of the current political environment and getting in trouble and using excessive force and having a video taken of them just wailing away on somebody and trying to subdue them using this weapon. So this is, and I don't believe this is as effective as the traditional one. You can see it's a little bit longer, so you have better reach on the self-defense, the expandable baton. This one is made, there it is, in the country of Taiwan, in the independent country of Taiwan, the free country of Chinese origin. And this one is a little bit longer than its grandfather, which hits so much harder. This one is so much more effective than this one, especially with these pushing strikes, two-handed strikes. But you can do all of that with this one. You can do a two-handed strike, but you just saw I closed it, and it's not going to be as effective, but you can do this strike. You can do all of these strikes going into different parts of the body. You can do a lot of those come-along techniques. You can do a lot of pressure point techniques using this one, and you can't carry it most places. Yeah, and Ari Sanders says these are not as good as the old wooden one, and I have a wooden one somewhere. I don't know where it is, that my father had when he was in the Marine Corps, and it's just the straight riot baton, because back when he was back in those days, there were lots of riots, and all of the Marines and the Army guys, all the infantry guys were also taught how to do riot control. And so a lot of those guys, that's where those sticks, but like a police officer would carry it. The old wood, and I don't think it's as hard as the plastic one, but it was always heavy and lasts forever. But I don't have that one to show you today. But this one, I get lots of questions. You ask me all the time, how about the expandable baton for self-defense? And there are some places you can carry it. Some places, if you have a concealed carry license to carry a firearm, you can carry this. But in most places, you're not going to be able to carry this. And if you get caught with one of these in those places, you can be, they'll take it away from you. You can be arrested. You can go to jail. So it's just simply not worth it. Yeah, and Ari Sanders says, riot baton. One of my neighbors, two now, in the neighborhood. One is a retired police chief and had two careers as a police officer. He was the police chief of a local small community, and he had been a police officer in another community for like 40 some years. But he's in his 70s. Every morning he walks with his riot baton. And I just thought it was a stick at first. When I got closer, he's a great gentleman to talk to. And I asked him, I said, where did you get that riot baton? And he told me the story of how he got that back when he was a young police officer, and he's always kept it. And those things are almost unbreakable. Again, those old wooden, made really well, oiled really well. They're, the Indian police Lati, Garen says, that's also a great self-defense tool. Now, we're gonna move away from law enforcement, and I wanna show you something a little bit more traditional, one of my favorite. And this was a gift from one of you This is a gift from Doug. Thank you, Doug. And this is the Irish Warhammer. But the Irish Warhammer, and then this is the Indonesian or Filipino Kali martial arts stick, Kali Eskrima Arnis. You can see they're similar in length. They're both around the same length as the police baton. This is made out of hickory. This one strikes extremely hard, and you can do a lot of things that you would do in the traditional fighting style of the Kali or Eskrima martial arts, but you can also use it as a brutal self-defense baton, using those two hands, pushing through here, striking, going for the joints. The joints break easier than the bones for self-defense, so those would be some of the targets. You would be targeting his ability to see or breathe temporarily, permanently, his ability to stand up, his ability to use his arm. Maybe he's got that bladed weapon coming at you, and you strike that using this self-defense tool. A little bit longer, hard to carry this in a lot of places. You're not taking this on a plane. It's gonna be hard to justify, why you would be having this. Yeah, and Ari Sanders says lighter means faster, it moves faster. But this, the Warhammer, this with this hard, and these are often made with lead. This has lead in the middle of this knot of wood. And this is the blackthorn, which is extremely, extremely hard. Yeah, so this is a fighting weapon. This is the Irish Tombow. We talk about the Japanese Tombow is 18 inches. It's a little bit longer than that. This is shorter than the Filipino Kali stick, which usually would come into your armpit, and a little bit longer than the Tombow, which would come to about the length of your forearm to your finger. But this one has this piece here. Of course, you can put this on your wrist so you don't lose it. And it has all of the same fighting attributes as the brutal self-defense baton, with the added benefit of this skull-crushing for self-defense hammer on the end full of lead that is just devastating. Devastatingly brutal, fatal self-defense. Nothing to play with to try to hit somebody. This is Brandon says it's the same video recorded live May 27th. Similar, Brandon, but I didn't have this in 2017. And I don't think I had that expandable baton. That also came from Doug as a gift. So I know I didn't have that in 2017. So I'm sure it's similar, but it's not the same. I am live right now. G. Carlton, good morning. It's good to see you. Oh, good. He's in Florida in Fort Lauderdale. He's just down the street. And Steve, Borg Resistance, good to see you. Now, this is my favorite self-defense baton. It's not as long, but it's more versatile. It's closer to a rolled up magazine that you can learn. I always say, learn how to fight with a stick, because you can take the skill of stick fighting everywhere you go for self-defense, but you might not be able to take the stick, but you're gonna find sticks in your environment. And learn how to fight with multiple sizes of stick. Now this isn't as long as the other one. Slapjacks. I was talking to slapjacks with a former police officer, New York police officer, just a few weeks ago, who comes here with his grandson, and he was reminiscing about how effective they are. I've talked to several older police officers, especially from, I think one was Boston, one was New York, and they carried them in the back pocket, and they are very effective. I've never used the slapjack. I've used it in training, but I've never carried one. By the time I got in the military police, they weren't letting you carry a slapjack. Slapjacks are deadly, and they do a lot of damage. If you don't know what they are, you gotta Google it to see what a slapjack is. Basically, it's a piece of leather. It's about this long, and it has a hard piece of metal that's sewn into it. And yeah, slapjacks are illegal in most places. Just like brass knuckles, right? Brass knuckles, you can't carry those. And so you can see, even though this is, it's not as long as the other self-defense batons, you still have some reach advantage. Now, the idea of using a stick for self-defense, if someone pulled a weapon on you, you'd want to go immediately into the face and try to remove his operating system, knock him out, lights out. If he can't hit this, he can't use this. So the idea is, think about what his most dangerous weapon is. If you're defending yourself, the opponent's most dangerous weapon is always going to be his mind and his intent to use violence against you. So you're going to use violence against him to stop him from hurting you. So that's why this is not street self-defense or this isn't street fighting. This is not bully self-defense. This is all about stopping somebody who's trying to hurt you using brutal self-defense batons. Now this one, I like because you can use all the different techniques from different styles. You can use Irish rolling of the wrist, Irish stick fighting using a shillelagh, snapping that, going in very fast. You pop it against the hand. You can get the reach. You can bring it down over top, striking the head. You can swing with the whole arm, creating massive amounts of force. You choke up on it a little bit so you can bring this back through, coming through here, coming down on top. Maybe he's behind you, turning in for that strike, striking here, striking down into the body. He comes up behind you. You can snap that wrist, 2 hands on it. You can push to the face. You can box the sides of his head. You can do a lot of work with just this one. You can also use it to deflect some of his attacks. He's coming in. You can smash that wrist out of the way if you practice this twisting motion. Don't open your hand. Don't take your fingers off, but open the fingers and practice this motion first. That's 1 point of movement. And then add the wrist, that's 2. Then add your elbow, now you've got 3. And then add the shoulder, turning the hips, you're up to 5. Take a step, and you've got all the power and the weight of your body striking from one side to the other side, thrusting, 2 hands. You can switch hands very quickly. You can go from this position to this position, practicing, sliding. Now from here, you've got that reach coming over top. You can block here, you can block down, you can block from one side to the other one. You can use 2 hands to strike in this push-up position, all using this brutal self-defense baton. This is the Japanese Okinawan Tombow, and as I said before, it's about as long, or 18 inches, as your forearm to your finger. You can make it a little longer, a little shorter. I do make these. This is the one that we train with here, and I make them in 2 sizes. And I just made a whole new batch. I sell out of these fast. They are either this is 1 inch, or they go 1.25 inches. And they're made out of oak. When they're 1.25 inches, the weight goes up dramatically. And so this is a hard striking tool when you use it properly. When you make it 1.25 inches, it strikes even harder. And I also teach lessons. And I've got those links below if you want to see some more information on the online lessons that I teach, or if you wanted to order one of these sticks, just let me know. Yeah, and Steve says, attack the hand. That's a very common, very, very common advice when it comes to self-defense, especially when someone's got one of these. Attack the hand or control the hand. The major flaw with that, though, is if you have somebody who, and I'm not talking like a Filipino knife fighter, although you don't want to fight somebody who's a Filipino knife fighter who knows what they're doing, because they're extremely deadly, or somebody who's who knife fights because that's their passion and they have a different style. Maybe it's a French style. There are a lot of different styles of knife fighting. And so they really know what they're doing. But most of those guys who do it recreationally or do it for self-defense, they're not going to be attacking you. You're worried about the guy who came out of the penitentiary, who's been stabbing people for a long time, who knows exactly what he's doing. And when you crush that hand, he's got it in the other hand, and in your neck and in your chest, and you're 38, 40 times before you even can realize that you've been stabbed. And that's the real danger with just going after the hand, because you get somebody who knows what they're doing, they'll give you this hand because they got something in this hand, or they're gonna get it in that hand while you're focused on this hand. So instead of going for the hand, I say go for the operating system. That's his most dangerous tool, his most dangerous weapon. You go in and you strike that, you take that out, you don't have to worry about the weapon that's in his hand as much. If you get fixated on focusing on that hand and he really knows what he's doing, you're in big trouble, because he'll just take it, put it in the other hand, or he's got something else in the other hand, or he knows what he's doing with the other hand, and all of a sudden you're fighting over that one. And that's not just me coming up with that. That's a very well-documented fact in practical self-defense, not in a lot of martial arts schools. A lot of martial arts schools, they want to still be able to teach their knife disarms. They still want to be able to teach, their Krav Maga gun disarms and knife disarms. But a lot of that doesn't work, and it's been proven not to work by video after video after video, because there are phones everywhere, there are security cameras everywhere in the penitentiaries. They see every one of these attacks, and they know what happens. And when you can get the guy here, and you stick your elbow through his face, because you might be coming in here, and the other elbow's coming here, and you're coming smashing into his face, and you make him respond to that, he's not as focused as he is on this one. If you just go after that hand and you start to smash the hand or grab the hand and try to strip the knife, then you're in a lot of danger. The only person that I think who does that exceptionally well is Fred Mastro, and some of you guys know who that is, especially if you do knife fighting or follow knife fighting. And I don't pretend to know everything there is to know about it. That's just my personal perspective. That's what I teach. When I teach people here, I'm not teaching knife fighters, and I'm not teaching people how to go up against a knife fighter. I'm saying you don't know what he's got. You're going to use what you have. You're going to take that violence and put it against his violence and go as fast as you can through the center of his face. And usually putting your helmet on, I like this idea. That way, if he does slash, he's hitting this and not this. As you recoil in fear, as you realize that knife's coming at you and he slices everything, you're here protected and smashing with the other one or smashing the elbows. Anyway, that's just the perspective. Check the links below if you're interested in that. And yeah, Asala says, I'm a woman, I'm always afraid. And I hate that for you. I hate that so much. But you are not alone, Asala. So many women are afraid, and it's a good right to be, because there are people out there who mean to harm you, but it's not everybody. And most people are not like that. And you can learn how to defend yourself. I'll be back in just a little bit. Yeah, Brendan asked, do you strike out in front of you or do you chamber from the start? Whatever's fastest. If you're in this position and your fastest is just straight in, you got to do that. There's somebody outside, he's revving his engine. I'm sure you can hear that. And you just go in, you go all in, and then you do whatever you can. Don't worry about the full chamber when it comes to saving your life. Hit them as hard and as fast as you can. You guys have been awesome. I'll see you in a little bit. Thank you.